Hello. I'm going to continue to read Dear Mr. Henshaw, pages 61 to 72. Saturday, January 20th. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, every time I try to think up a story, it turns out to be like something someone else has written, usually you. I want to do what you said in your tips and write like me, not like somebody else. I'll keep trying because I want to be a young author with my story printed, mimeographed. That means copied. Maybe I can't think of a story because I'm waiting for Dad to call. I get so lonesome when I'm alone at night when Mom is at her nursing class. Yesterday, somebody stole a piece of wedding cake from my lunch bag. It was the kind catering by Katie packs in little white boxes for people to take home for weddings. Mr. Fridley noticed me scowling again and said, "So, the lunch bag thief strikes again?" I said, "Yeah, and my dad didn't phone me." He said, "Don't think you are the only boy around here with a father who forgets." I wonder if this is true. Mr. Fridley keeps an eye on just about everything around school, so he probably knows. I wish I had a grandfather like Mr. Fridley. He is so nice, sort of baggy and comfortable. Monday, January 29th. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, Dad still hasn't phoned, and he promised he would. Mom keeps telling me I shouldn't get my hopes up because Dad sometimes forgets. I don't think he should forget what he wrote on a postcard. I feel terrible. Tuesday, January 30th. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, I looked in my book of highway maps and figured out that Dad should be back in Bakersfield by now. But he still hasn't phoned. Mom says I shouldn't be too hard on him because a trucker's life isn't easy. Truckers sometimes lose some of their hearing in their left ear from the wind rushing past the driver's window. She says truckers get out of shape from sitting such long hours without exercise and from eating too much greasy food. Sometimes they get ulcers from the strain of trying to make good time on the highway. Time is money for a trucker. I think she's just trying to make me feel good, but I don't. I feel rotten. I said, "If a trucker's life is so hard, how come Dad is in love with his truck?" Mom said, "It's not really his truck he's in love with. He loves the feel of power when he is sitting high in his cab, controlling a mighty machine. He loves the excitement of never knowing where his next trip will take him. He loves the mountains and the desert sunrises and the sight of orange trees heavy with oranges and the smell of fresh mown alfalfa. I know, because I rode with him until you came along." I still feel terrible. If Dad loves all those things so much, why can't he love me? And maybe if I hadn't been born, Mom might still be riding with Dad. Maybe I'm to blame for everything. Wednesday, January 31st. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, Dad still hasn't phoned. A promise is a promise, especially when it is in writing. When the phone does ring, it is always a call from one of the women Mom works with. I am filled with wrath. I got that out of a book, but not one of yours. I am mad at Mom for divorcing Dad. As she says, it takes two people to get a divorce, so I am mad at two people. I wish Bandit was here to keep me company. Bandit and I didn't get a divorce. They did. Thursday, February 1st. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, today there was bad news in the paper. The sugar refinery is going to shut down. Even though Dad hauls cross country now, I keep hoping sometime he might haul a really big load of sugar beets to Spreckles. Now maybe I'll never see him again. Friday, February 2nd. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, I am writing this because I am trapped in my room with a couple of babies sleeping in baskets on my bed. Mom has some of her women friends over. They sit around drinking coffee or herb tea and talking about their problems, which are mostly men, money, kids, and landlords. Some of them piece quilts while they talk. They hope to sell them for extra money. It is better to stay in here with the babies than go out and say, "Hello, sure, I like school fine. Yes, I guess I have grown," and all that. Mom is right about Dad and his truck. I remember how exciting it was to ride with him and listen to calls on his Citizens Band radio. Dad pointed out how hawks sit on telephone wires waiting for little animals to get run over so they won't have to bother to hunt. Dad says civilization is ruining hawks. He was hauling a gondola full of tomatoes that day, and he said that some tomatoes are grown specially so they are so strong they won't squash when loaded into a gondola. They may not taste like much, but they don't squash. That day we had to stop at a weigh scale. Dad had used up enough diesel oil so his load was just under the legal weight, and the highway patrol didn't make him pay a fine for carrying too heavy a load. Then we had lunch at the truck stop. Everybody seemed to know Dad. The waitresses all said, "Well, look who just rolled in, our old pal Wild Bill," and things like that. Wild Bill from Bakersfield is the name Dad uses on his CB radio. When Dad said, "Meet my kid," I stood up as tall as I could so they would think I was going to grow up as big as Dad. The waitresses all laughed a lot around Dad. For lunch, we had chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes with lots of gravy, peas out of a can, and apple pie with ice cream. Our waitress gave me extra ice cream to help me grow big like Dad. Most truckers are real fast and left, but Dad kidded around a while and played the video games. Dad always runs up a high score no matter which machine he plays. Mom's friends are collecting their babies, so I guess I can go to bed now. Sunday, February 4th. Dear Mr. Pretend Henshaw, I hate my father. Mom is usually home on Sunday, but this week there was a big golf tournament, which means rich people have parties, so she had to go squirt deviled crab into about 1,000,000 little cream puff shells. Mom never worries about meeting the rent when there is a big golf tournament. I was all alone in the house. It was raining and I didn't have anything to read. I was supposed to scrub off some of the mildew on the bathroom walls with some smelly stuff, but I didn't because I was mad at Mom for divorcing Dad. I feel that way sometimes, which makes me feel awful because I know how hard she has to work and try to go to school, too. I kept looking at the telephone until I couldn't stand it any longer. I picked up the receiver and dialed Dad's number over in Bakersfield. I even remembered to dial 1 first because it was long distance. All I wanted was to hear the phone ringing in Dad's trailer, which wouldn't cost Mom anything because nobody would answer. Except Dad answered. I almost hung up. He wasn't off in some other state. He was in his trailer and he hadn't phoned me. "You promised to phone me this week and you didn't," I said. I felt I had to talk to him. "Take it easy, kid," he said. "I just didn't get around to it. I was going to call this evening. The week isn't over yet." I thought about this. "Something on your mind?" he asked. I didn't know what to say, so I said, "My lunch. Somebody steals the good stuff out of my lunch." "Find him and punch him in the nose," said Dad. I couldn't tell he didn't think my lunch was important. "I hoped you would call," I said. I waited and waited. Then I was sorry I said it. I have some pride left. "There was heavy snow in the mountains," he said. "I had to chain up on Highway 80 and lost time. From my map book, I know Highway 80 crosses the Sierra. I also know about putting chains on trucks. When the snow is heavy, truckers have to put chains on the drive wheels, all 8 of them. Putting chains on 8 big wheels in the snow is no fun." I felt a little better. "How's Bandit?" I asked, as long as we were talking. There was a funny silence. For a minute, I thought the line was dead. Then I knew something must have happened to my dog. "How's Bandit?" I asked again, louder in case Dad might have lost some of the hearing in his left ear from all that wind rushing by. "Well, kid," he began. "My name is Lee," I almost yelled. "I'm not just some kid you met on the street." "Keep your shirt on, Lee," he said. "When I had to stop along with some other truckers to put on chains, I let Bandit out of the cab. I thought he would get right back in because it was snowing so hard, but after I chained up, he wasn't in the cab." "Did you leave the door open for him?" I asked. Big pause. "I could have sworn I did," he said, which meant he didn't. Then he said, "I whistled and whistled, but Bandit didn't come. I couldn't wait any longer because the highway patrol was talking about closing Highway 80. I couldn't get stranded up there in the mountains when I had a deadline for delivering a load of TV sets to a dealer in Denver. I had to leave. I'm sorry, kid, Lee, but that's the way it is." "You left Bandit to freeze to death?" I was crying from anger. How could he? "Bandit knows how to take care of himself," said Dad. "I'll bet dollars to donuts he jumped into another truck that was leaving." I wiped my nose on my sleeve. "Why would the driver let him?" I asked. "Because he thought Bandit was lost," said Dad, "and he had to get on with his load before the highway was closed. The same as I did. He couldn't have a dog to freeze." "What about your CB radio?" I asked. "Didn't you send out a call?" "Sure I did, but I didn't get an answer. Mountains cut down on reception," Dad told me. I was about to say I understood, but here comes the bad part, the really bad part. I heard a boy's voice say, "Hey, Bill, Mom wants to know when we're going out to get the pizza." I felt as if my insides were falling out. I hung up. I didn't want to hear anymore. When Mom had to pay for the phone call, I didn't want to hear anymore at all. To be continued. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.